If Conor McGregor ends up fighting Michael Chandler in 2024, it'll be the first time he's competed in almost 3 years. The last time we saw him fight, it was devastating. He was on the floor, leg broken, and with yet another loss on his record. But the notorious one recently claimed he's back.
Yeah, well, I'm back and I'm on a tear, my man. I'm feeling great. Upgrade the software without damaging the hardware.
Yet again, though, injury struck.
All right, guys, here I am again. Conor McGregor is out of 303 versus Michael Chandler with an injury.
But from the outside looking in, his preparation for the now cancelled UFC 303 fight looked terrible. He seemed to be constantly drinking, partying, and doing anything but training. And considering he's returning after one of the most devastating injuries in UFC history, his training and rehabilitation is more important than ever. So if Conor ever returns, will we witness the greatest comeback in UFC history? Or a total flop and perhaps McGregor's last ever UFC fight? In the history of the UFC, just 4 fighters have broken their legs in the fashion McGregor did. And strangely enough, 3 of the 4 to suffer perhaps the worst injury in UFC history are former champions.
And I remember when it happened with you, I didn't know your leg broke as soon as it happened. I thought you were just in pain. I circle around and I remember hearing this screaming like someone was being murdered. And now I understand the pain that you went through, all the trials and tribulations that you went through. And it just makes me empathize with you so much more.
The unfortunate list is Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman, Conor McGregor, and with the 4th being the late Corey Hill back in 2008. So we have some information on how fighters return after such a horrific injury. For perhaps the most iconic case in Anderson Silva, it was career-changing. Before the leg break in his rematch with Chris Weidman, Anderson was 17-1 in his last 18 fights. And after the leg break, he managed just a single victory in his next 7 outings before retiring. Granted, Anderson was in his late 30s when the injury happened and had suffered the first knockout loss of his career in the fight prior. So maybe all the blame for his change in results can't be put on the leg injury, but it's not a promising sign for McGregor fans. For Weidman and Corey Hill, the story isn't so clear. Both men struggled after their leg break. Weidman is just 1-1 since, but looks considerably slower. And for Corey Hill, his injury happened at the start of his career. So while his record after was an underwhelming 4 wins to 7 losses, who knows what his ability truly was. But returning after such a traumatic injury isn't just a question of how they will feel physically.
Having the nurse come in and look at me, and I'm looking at her like, what the hell am I doing here? And she's looking at me like, you don't know what happened, do you? You don't know? I'm like, no, why am I here? She's like, just go back to sleep. And it's like hours of dozing off and waking up and dozing off and waking up. And, it's like, that didn't really happen. This has to be some type of dream. I mean, like, really, this doesn't happen to people. And no one told me that this was a possibility when I started. No one told me that things like this happen,
There's also a significant psychological barrier that McGregor will have to overcome.
And that's always the biggest thing as an athlete. When you come back from an injury. I've never came back from an injury as devastating as he did, but even when you come back, whether you're getting knocked out or injury, you always want to know, is your body going to hold up? Can you throw that kick? Can you throw that punch? Is it going to break again? And I think for him, that was kind of like a mental hurdle that he had to get over by throwing the hardest kicks he can on this bag. And he was able to do it, and he respects it, and he's feeling good.
It took Anderson months of training to feel confident enough to throw another kick.
How much you need you keep straight, you focus for recover your leg, for stay with your real friends, family, and you in the physiotherapy every day, and it's tough. I remember when I back to kick again, I'm scared for 3 months. I'm scared for kick, jump, but in 1 year I'm recover my leg and I kick normal.
In Corey Hill's case, he went on record to say he removed leg kicks from his skill set almost entirely, as he was afraid he'd break his leg again. For McGregor, unfortunately, the previous 3 UFC fighters returning from leg breaks have all struggled. And on the topic of worries, let me introduce the sponsor of this video, Aura. In 2024, our personal data is all over the internet. Recently, my email address containing my banking information, address, social media accounts, and more was hacked. I woke up to a barrage of emails saying there was suspicious activity on my email, multiple login attempts from numerous locations, and that my password was changed. Thankfully, I was able to block the account, but knowing that all of my private information was almost stolen while I slept was incredibly stressful. Had I been using Aura at the time, I wouldn't have had to worry for a moment. Aura shows you which data brokers are selling your information and automatically opts out of those websites, putting you at far less risk of people gaining access to your bank accounts, social media accounts, or anything else private to you. And you might think this doesn't apply to you if you use larger, more trustworthy websites. But a recent data breach at AT&T resulted in over 73 million people's records being released on the dark web. They recommended people to change their passwords, monitor their account activity, and even consider freezing their credit cards. If any of those people had Aura though, their data would have been safe and they wouldn't have had to worry. So I value my privacy and I also value yours. You can click on the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial. But Conor has a few more advantages on his side. He was younger than Weidman and Silva when it happened, he's taken considerably more time off than the others, and is rumored to have used a steroid or human growth hormone to aid recovery. So if anyone can pull off one of the UFC's greatest ever comebacks, it's someone as mentally confident as Conor McGregor.
Truly, what was going on here? Did you feel like the career was over? Were you down? Were you depressed? What was...
At the time, I thought, you know, maybe I won't be able to do this again. For sure, that was in my thoughts. Was I thinking of not making the walk or maybe the roll if I was in a fucking chair? Never. I was actually, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, Ariel. If you're willing, you're able. I'm never stopping this. I'm continuing. I'd wheel out into that octagon and I'd scoot into open guard if I couldn't brace on the leg. That was in my thoughts.
But one extra worry he has that the others definitely didn't is his potentially negative relationship with drinking and partying. For some time now, whenever you see a McGregor video online, there's a good chance he's intoxicated, in a bar, or usually both. With his whiskey brand Proper 12 taking off, and his Dublin pub, the Forge Inn, Conor seems more and more into the partying scene that he ever has. Even recently on stream, McGregor was fighting the urge to have a drink.
Incredible.
Off the stick.
I'll just have a whiff of it. That'll do me, yeah. Because it works, to be honest.
Yeah.
Usman. Who's Usman? Kamaru Usman? Fuck him. Fuck Kamaru Usman. He's a bum. Give a fuck about Usman, yeah?
And while it gave us some hilarious Conor quotes, if you read between the lines, perhaps he has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. They may be hilarious, but McGregor is active on Twitter most weekends in the early hours of the morning. It's a pretty safe assumption to say he's probably intoxicated each time that happens. There's even accusations from some parts of the MMA community that McGregor often takes drugs, which is why he's often seen slurring his words or talking incredibly fast.
He's so passionate about boxing, about mixed martial arts. He wouldn't sit down. You know, I mean, he's ordered a steak, he's standing up, he's showing me how he'd fight this guy and how he'd fight that guy. And then he's telling me about, was it the Nate Diaz fight when he's on his back and he's got a bad knee and he's like, you know, and I'm just, it's like a million miles an hour. But it's like, we should do this, we should do that, let's do this, let's make it happen. And I'm sure everyone's got their opinion. My opinion is I love him. I think he's such a character. You know, in life, you want to be around people where you go, I'll never forget. Like, I'll never forget.
After all, he spent a lot of time physically unable to train and without a fight camp to keep him on track.
What drugs was he make doing? Yourself billions of dollars. Millions. Someone offers you a little cocaine, you do it, and you're like, oh, he's throwing his life away. It's like, is he? Look at your life and look at his. So just fucking chill out.
Yeah. Unless he's addicted
to some coke once a month.
His life.
And yeah,
or affecting his life in a negative way.
This behavior has been happening well before McGregor broke his leg, though. Fingers were pointed at Conor's behavior, dating back to the Khabib Nurmagomedov press conference in 2018.
Happy birthday, Shine the Bus.
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I never drink.
I'll tell you some buzz at parties.
I never drink.
You mad backwards cunt. You're dead when I get my hands on you, do you hear me?
I never
You're
drink.
fucking dead.
I never drink.
I'll drink it. Me and the Irish Boston animal, Dana White, the OG of the fight game. He'll sup this bad boy.
I think it's gonna be a long night for him.
Ah, yes. Oh, Lord, Jamie, that's tasty.
For a potential fight with Michael Chandler, though, it means there's a huge question mark about McGregor's dedication to training. If he's not fully dedicated, it's likely going to be a rough night for McGregor. MMA isn't a sport to be half committed to. And you know, on the other side of the octagon, Chandler will continue to prepare in the best way possible despite the bout being postponed.
Hey, hey, hey.
Ooh. It's good. You got third.
That boy still got it, man. 38 years young, man.
But there are some fans out there who think McGregor has been trying to pull a Ryan Garcia on us and trick people into thinking he isn't taking it seriously.
Man, I tell you what, there's a couple different schools of thought. Obviously, would you ever put it past Conor? No, I think we can all, if you've seen Conor, you would not put that past Conor. But if you saw the way Ryan Garcia did what Ryan Garcia did, you know, and there's all kinds of different, you know, throwing people off the trail, right. All kinds of different publicity stunts, if you will. I'm training whether I see Conor in the club every single day or I don't see him tweet or do an interview and he looks bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, he looks the best he's ever been. I'm training the exact same way.
Because in the training footage, McGregor looked sharp.
Defends the takedown, nice little left underhook, boom, knee to the head, left hand, right hand, and the training partner goes down. So McGregor is looking really, really sharp here, and that power that he's known for still seems to be there, but more importantly than the power is the timing, okay?
And the noise around him and his camp is that he's never looked better. But, although that may be true, it's a narrative we've heard time and time before. We've been told numerous times that McGregor is truly back, he's fighting 3 times in a year, and is making a run for the title. And it's never played out remotely close to that. That may be because of his losses to Dustin and subsequent injury, but even after his destruction of Cowboy Cerrone, he still took an entire year off. And while this time may be due to a legitimate injury, it throws doubt into the idea that Conor McGregor is back. Because at almost 36 years old, it's now or never. Money fights will always be on the table, but if he's serious about recapturing the lightweight title or even challenging the 170-pound belt, it has to be soon. Because when you look at the stats, fighters over 35 have a terrible record in title fights in the lighter divisions. But with all the question marks and controversy surrounding Conor McGregor, is this fight with Chandler even going to happen? Now, we all know this fight has been on the horizon for a long time. The Ultimate Fighter filming began way back in February of 2023, yet it's taken well over a year for this fight to be upon us. Whether that was due to Conor's injury, a lack of training, or even the allegations that the UFC was waiting for his human growth hormone therapy to stop testing positive, we don't know the exact reason why.
When you can't do much with your lower body, you know, you're going to, naturally your cardio, your ability to do cardio goes down. So obviously when Conor was limping around for the better part of a year after 2 snapped bones, he was naturally going to gain weight, but yeah, how big his face got.
Yeah, but you're not getting
his
like the Barry
body.
Bonds chin.
Yeah, I mean, like the
know.
dude, some of those photos, you know, you can't help but to think, man, are they photoshopped because it's that drastic, or,
He's
you know,
jacked.
He's jacked. He's a big boy.
It all seemed normal until the highly anticipated Dublin press conference, set for June 3rd, was mysteriously cancelled just hours before it was planned to begin. The UFC were strangely silent, and Conor's cryptic tweet didn't do a lot to reassure fans the fight was still going ahead. People theorized it may have been a logistical issue, McGregor hiding an injury, or simply saying no last minute.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, a canceled presser, not that big of a deal, right? It happens, but it's the layers in which, okay, if a presser is canceled, is there something else wrong? Is there something going on? And obviously then immediately speculation starts going all over the place in 2024, social media, all that stuff.
But then, the UFC started pulling all the promotional material for 303 and sent fans into a frenzy.
UFC apparently has pulled all TV advertisements for McGregor versus Chandler. They also, I think over the weekend, put up videos of McGregor versus Diaz 2 and McGregor versus Alvarez as their, like, you know, free fights to get people hyped up for 303. Those have both been made private, and apparently you can no longer pre-order the pay-per-view with McGregor versus Chandler from the ESPN Plus website. So yeah, there's a lot of factors making people question whether or not this is going to happen at the end of the month.
Right. Well, I mean, in that case, it sounds like an injury of some sort. One would have thought. Just if just thinking logically, and now granted, that's if it is McGregor that's injured, then he's going to get some shit, because how many times does he call people a pullout merchant?
Every MMA expert and fan had their own ideas about what was happening. Even Jake Paul claimed he knew that something went down. And when Conor posted this photo of him in some kind of doctor's room, a physiotherapist perhaps, a potential injury was at the top of everyone's list. Clearly the situation was touch and go, because it felt like one day the fight was on, then the next it was in danger of being cancelled, and so on.
I could tell you as of last night, and as of today, this morning, early afternoon, it's currently 1:10 p.m. Eastern time, I could tell you that there is great positivity that this fight is going forward. As of right now, if you're asking me straight up, to shoot with you all straight up, and I'm the only one doing it, is Conor McGregor going to fight Michael Chandler on June 29th? My answer is yes.
Fight camp, man. Got this fight coming up.
You think?
I hope, yeah.
We hope, right?
No, the fight's happening. Obviously, where we are right now, there's a lot of speculation, but the fight is on June 29th. It's happening.
The positivity that I talked about exactly 1 week ago today is nowhere to be found. I would say this fight is very much in limbo. I would say that it's hanging on, and I would say the UFC is working very, very hard right now to figure out a plan B. Now, the plan B could be someone stepping in to fight Chandler. The plan C could be a whole new fight. If you look at the roster, if you look at who's available, if you look at the champions who have just fought or who are scheduled to fight, there aren't a ton of options.
In the end, the UFC's biggest fight in years was cancelled.
Conor McGregor suffered an injury about a day or so before that scheduled press conference in Dublin. That was early last week. And so that's why there wasn't a press conference. Now, the reason why they didn't want that to come out was because there was hope that the fight would still be on and that it would be all good and salvaged. And so you obviously don't want your opponent to know that you are hurt. Understandable.
The UFC hopes the fight will happen in late August or September, according to Helwani. But at this point, honestly, who knows what will happen? Following the news, Conor released the statement to address his fans. Quote, "Very tough to be ruled out of the scheduled return bout. I picked up an injury prior to the press conference that required more time to heal than was available to me. The decision to postpone the fight was not made lightly, but one made in consultation with my doctors, the UFC, and my team. My fans and the opponent deserve me at my best for this fight, and we will get there. Thank you for the messages of support. I am in good spirits and confident I'll be back." End quote. After the fight was officially cancelled, a deeply disappointed Michael Chandler, who has been waiting for this for almost 2 years, posted a video addressing the fans and sharing his thoughts on the situation.
Got the rug pulled out from underneath me at the last possible moment. The happiest and healthiest and hardest to kill, most dangerous man I have ever been in my entire life. In that moment, to 30 minutes later getting a phone call that all of that was for naught. Or was it? Don't you dare disrespect me by feeling sorry for me. Don't you dare disrespect me by having any kind of sympathy. Be emboldened by my situation. Be emboldened by my steadfastness and my immovability of hitching my dreams to a shooting star and continuing to move forward. If you've been on this journey with me for a long time, you know how I operate. You know where my mindset is, where my mental is. And it is nowhere near down in the dumps. I am emboldened by this test, and this test ain't done yet. And this test shall turn into part of my testimony. So we keep moving forward in the face of adversity with complete disregard to previous failures, previous setbacks, previous things outside of our control, and future opposition.
The wild thing is, though, that despite the inactivity and just one victory since 2016, Conor McGregor has found a way to retain his star power. According to Dana White back in May, UFC 303 broke the promotion's live gate record at way over $20 million.
Outside of tonight as well, I wanted to say congratulations on what I assume will be the UFC's first $20 million gate with Conor's return. Is that true? Is it going to break 20 million?
Yeah, it's already way over 20 million.
I know you love collecting records. You look at that one and go, nice, good, got that one. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
How do you view that record?
No, it's a lovely feather to have in the cap. You know, the first time we've ever we will have ever attained or cleared past the $20 million gate. Very happy with that. How do I feel? It's the inflation here. You know, the pricey tickets, man, as well. So I don't know how I feel about it in a way, also.
So win or lose in his comeback fight, there's nothing to suggest that McGregor won't continue to be the biggest star in the sport by an enormous margin. If it ends up being Chandler, then Conor has an opponent willing to brawl, and someone who is more than happy to make it exciting. His sparring has looked on point, so with an injury-free victory, there's no reason why we can't see McGregor fight a couple more times in quick succession. If he returns a shell of his former self, however, with 3 straight losses and approaching his late 30s, it could well be the last time we see Conor McGregor fighting at the highest level of mixed martial arts. Instead, it'll likely just be one-off money fights for Conor going forward, because his star power is going nowhere anytime soon. And while Conor's days on the pound-for-pound list may be behind him, that's certainly not the case for Jon Jones. So check out my breakdown on whether Dana White's recent comments regarding the pound-for-pound list were right, and if Jon Jones still deserves to be at the top of that list.